Yeah, so but the assumption was that the only way you can speak of oil is through the keli. And now we're speaking of the oil as it is distinct from the keli. Before that, we did not present it that there is a possibility of speaking of oil without the keli, to understand anything about oil without the keli. That's what a keli is. A keli is the means of grasping, of presentation. And here, Rabbi speaks about the oil distinctly, by itself, and speaks about it. In other words, you can talk about it and you can have some kind of a understanding of what you're talking about. Otherwise, there's no point in talking about it. You agree with that?
I agree that you're talking about it.
Throughout this whole learning, which is, spent a lot of time on this, I've always tried to give us a kind of a tangible distinction between how things are in kelim and how things are in oiris. On the simplest level, we demonstrated the concept using a table as a means to demonstrate it. And having spoken about a table and spoken about all kinds of different human amenities, everyone can then project and understand how these things apply across the board. And what is the point that we made? A table has a practical use. Very practical use. So we are saying, yes, indeed, it has a practical use. But that's the keli element of the table. Then there is the oil element of the table, which is on a different level, and it's not measured by practical use. And that itself opens up a whole slew of things that we can point to. The practical use of a table is the convenience. Like right now, we have a safe in front, we have a cup, and we have a phone. The table takes off much of the burden of keeping these things in proximity. The table holds these things in place as you put it down. Therefore, the table has a practical use. Then there is another phase to that, and I'd like we should understand this. We've repeated this many times. This phenomenon, even on this very simple level, that we are using the table for convenience. The concept of convenience on a human level is not merely a facilitator to make it able to facilitate the ability to do this and that. Convenience is a primary human principle. Not in order to alleviate burden from the human being, but in order to bring out and recognize what's a human being. Human being is in this world. The fact that in his being in this world is not merely that he is a stranger and he has to fend for himself. Not so. By the direction of the creator of the world stands at your beck-and-call. Anything you can design to help you, that's what the world is about. It was meant for that. You're not usurping a place that you don't belong to. No, it was meant for you. But you, with your wisdom, will figure out how to use it. Whether it is building a horse and buggy, or building a car, or an airplane. It is all part of the initial mandate given to the human being. Who gave him this mandate? Here is the most important point to understand. Who gave him this mandate? Did he acquire this mandate simply because he's smart? And you put him in any unabridged, uninterfering element, he can find ways of using it. Is that what this mandate is about?
No.
Say it in words.
By virtue of the fact that the Eibishter gave the person a neshama, and his purpose is to represent God in this world, so the Eibishter gave this person this mandate, because that everything...
What happens? See, this is what happens when he actually uses that mandate?
If he uses it for appropriate means, at that point he's representing that, he's underscoring that he represents the Eibishter in the world.
He's fulfilling his mission. The first command that Hashem gave Adam Arishin was Pru urvu umilu es haaretz v'chipshuha. What does chipshuha mean? Learn to use every nuance, every aspect in the world, and humanize it. Show how this has a spiritual significance, a human significance. In other words, by using this mandate, he is not merely helping himself. He is not taking this mandate from no man's land. It doesn't belong to anyone, so I might as well grab it. Nothing belongs to no one. It belongs to the Eibishter. And it's meant for him to take it. Eibishter is showing it him. Take it. This goes to the extent that the Gemara says that when a person sees a fruit and he craves it, in other words, he's able to eat it. It's not that he's full, but he wants it, and he does not partake of it, or sidlitin sadin, he'll have to answer for it.
You have to answer for why he did not take pleasure in this fruit.
Not pleasure, did not use the fruit for what it was meant to be used for. This is the way things are in the Oyer. What's meant in Oyer? From the perspective of the Creator. This is the way things are perceived from a perspective of seeing the world as a creation rather than as a Darwinian idiotic view. Everything is a godly creation. Everything that can be used has a godly spirit in it to be used that way. That's not oyer. This is the meaning of oyer. As we are learning, now what is the definition of oyer? Oyer is that which is connected to the source of oyer. The reason that I have a table in the house is not because it's my convenience, but because I have a godly mandate to be a human being. And therefore, when you come into a human home and it's properly appointed, whose honor is this? What's reflected in this home? Provided, of course, it's not overdone. But if it is really an honorable presentation, it is actually representing the fact that this world is a godly creation. And it's meant to represent the godly spirit with which it was created. You see the contrast between that and Kalim? It's a completely different concept. In Kalim, you could say, I don't care. It's convenient. It's okay. Fast food. I have no time for it. And Oiris, if you say that, you're insulting yourself. You're insulting the human species. You're insulting God Himself. God says to you, hey, you're a human being. Stand up. Who cares? Who are you offending there? You say you're nullifying your own Matthias. No. You're offending the Creator of the world. The Gemara says, Tamid Chochem, Shenimtzem Revav al Digdoi, Tamid Chochem that has a stain on his garment, is what you did Benidui. Very horrible thing. What is the word over there? Chayav Misa. That's even better. I thought it was Chayav Misa, but because of the Chilul Hashem. Chilul Hashem, he says, I don't care for my own covet. I can be mevater my own covet. Yes, you can be mevater your covet, but you can't be mevater on a covet Shemayim. Who do you think you are? Who gave me all this wisdom? Who gave me the neshama to enable you to understand what you're learning? And appreciate it. Bishop said, Oyer. In very simple terms, if you want to encapsulate it in 2 words. Everything in the world has to have a base, a platform. What is it standing? What's holding it up? What is the platform for Kalim? The world. Earth. What is the platform? What enables there to be a Kalim? Space and time. What is the platform for Oiris? The Creator. This is what enables the Oiris to be. This is what gives Oiris a place, a presence, and enabled it to be. I hope we understand this for the sake of understanding what we're learning. I hope we understand it for the sake of understanding where we are and who we are and what is our function over here in this world. And who is holding us in his hands. And who is the one who is showing us this fruit that we refuse to partake of. You might want to mention something about it. How come the fruit is so beautiful and so luscious? Where does that get that spirit to create such a pleasant creature? I want to know if a dog appreciates a tasty piece of fruit. For a dog that everybody is huddling and kissing and putting on shoes on, the dog understand but appreciate the beauty.
What's the animals don't have a taste?
No, of course not. Taste is a seichel zach, chochma. Tam, what's tam?
They enjoy their food means that I'm just asking.
They don't enjoy their food. They're filling their bellies. Come on.
It's almost like a car filling up with gas.
What?
It's almost like a car filling up with gas. Just they're hungry and
not a car is not hungry.
No,
the dog is hungry.
They have
Huh?
they have physical taste for it because things that they like, certain things they don't like. You know?
It's not a question of them. This is not made for them. This is the horse eats hay and it's straw, and a camel eats something else. This is how they were made. It's not a question of taste.
Even the dogs that wear the little coats and hats in the street, they don't appreciate it either, huh?
Isn't that amazing? As much as we trusted them and we respected them, they don't appreciate it.
no sushi to the dog.
Not only because we kiss them. And we tell them how much we love them. And they remain the same dog. Amazing. And to talk about a dog is so necessary these days. Why am I trying insulting a dog? Because human beings have lost their own perspective. We don't realize that if you appreciate a tasty fruit, that is a representation, a reflection of a seichel. Which means that an infant, child as he's growing up, does not come to the stage where he's able to refer to tate mami and appreciate what that means until he tastes the taste of dogon, of grain, of bread, essentially.
You mean he wouldn't?
Okay, well, I don't know what it means. This is what the Gemara says. You take it from there. You also have seichel. Take it from there.
So, when we have the focus on not being too into the Gashmi, that's just to keep it in place. But the Tam itself and the variety and the richness is very much a human inyan, a human
Absolutely,
gift.
absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely. And but of course, you're looking for it in order to develop and reveal your koiches, so that your seichel should be functioning. The Gemara says, Rava says, I learned today I made a mistake. I did not really present the shiur correctly. Why? Because I did not eat bisa de Torah.
Mm-hmm.
I did not have beef this morning. My seichel was weak. This is Rava. Anybody care to be anything bigger than that?
Well, what about Rabbi Yehuda Hanasu, who said my little finger didn't benefit?
That's right. He didn't benefit, not at all. But if he needed to learn, he ate everything he needs needed to strengthen his brain. There's no question about it.
And he was cognizant.
He didn't benefit for his own pleasure.
Not for his yeshus, but let's say he had obviously a rich array. He had more than plain food, and we're saying that gave him richness in his faculties. That's our point, yeah?
Rabbi Yehuda Hanasu was an extremely wealthy man.
Yeah.
He and Antoninus, who was the king of Rome at that time, were buddy-buddy. And their wealth was being compared one to the other.
Antoninus was the what of Rome? The emperor?
But the emperor. Antoninus was an emperor of Rome, and Rabbeinu HaKodesh was the one who compiled Mishnayos. So he used his wealth and the strength that he got from his wealth to build the Mishnayos, and he had the Roman Empire. Antoninus Rebbe. Lame Yamots. Rashi, people learn Rashi, Chumash and Rashi, right? I hope so.
So it's good we have a better mashkar after bringing them.
Anyway, I stopped at this because I said, we're talking about others, we have to, from time to time, focus in and say, hey, this is real. This is more real than Kalim, as far as a human being is concerned. If we have a table in the middle of the room, you come to somebody's house, there's a table in the room. Oh, that's convenience, you could sit around the table. That's not what strikes you, we really think. Hey, this is a real human abode. And the table is in the right place. If the table was standing in this corner, so from practical use, it would still be the same. But you say, what's going on over here? People don't have a sense about how to appoint a rule. And if you're sitting at the table and the table is out of place, think about this. You're not a spoiled child. You're sitting at a table and the table is out of place. Versus if you're sitting at a table and the table is in place. Totally different experience. These are the qualities that we have because of the neshama, of the human neshama that we have. These are qualities that we didn't develop out of practice. These are qualities that the Rebbe gave us. Because the Rebbe says, you be a human being. It's our main kid Musainu. I made a human being to begin with. I mentioned a very interesting thing. This is something to reflect. The Rebbe created in 6 days 6 days and 5 nights, all the creatures in the world, a whole multitude of different creatures. And not in one instant, the Torah mentioned that the Rebbe said, I intend to create this. Should I create this? It begins by Vayem Elokim Hiyir. Vayem Elokim Tache Haaretz. Teiche Haaretz. In one instant, as an exception. Only one. When he came to create a human being, the Rebbe said, let us make a human being. And this was a presentation to the Malachim. Said, what do you think? Is it a good idea? And they said, what for? What's going to happen? What is he going to? What do you need a human being? This is my plan for him. You justify creating a human being. Otherwise, how does a human being come into this world? He's a super being. He's a super creature over here. Doesn't belong here. So when we live up to the plan, we are corroborating Hashem's plan. We say, oh yeah, we agree with this. Otherwise, say, hey, Hashem, you didn't know what you were doing. All right. So, Oiros, the Rebbe says, I'm not going to back into the kids. It is much, we'll stay on it forever. Oiros are on a different caliber. I'm fine. On a different caliber. They completely... okay, let me finish my sentence. They're completely in a different world, different reality than Cain. They're not measurable by their provisions, but they facilitate. Always represent the reality of the world. What's this world about? It's a godly creation. That's what Torah is about. And I went into this to demonstrate that this is something which we are experiencing on minute by minute experience. If we would only pay attention to our own life. So the Shulchan Aruch that when you get dressed in the morning or get undressed in the evening, you should do it in a tznizdike manner. Why? Because you are in the domain of your Creator. That's what you are. Then if you are neglectful in terms of your own self-honor, you are insulting your Creator. This is what Oiros are. Let's go on. Okay, Baruch, your turn. I'm sorry. Yes, your turn, Baruch.
It just occurred to me, we're talking about here through this whole thing, Oiros and Kalim. And we have other terms in Chassidus that seem very similar, like spirit and matter, Rufni and Gashmi, Tanimi, Titsani. These are all similar, right? Yet we focus, like the ultimate truth of all of those terms is Oyer v'Keli. Is that... Is there a difference between...
If you want me to comment on this is going to take a little time. But I can see where you're coming from. Okay, just to clear things up. The Rebbe explains The difference between Oiris and Kelim, I just now finished saying. Kelim are based, their presence is allowed from the worldly presence. Oiris, they are facilitated by the Creator presence. In other words, Oiris and Kelim are the source for all the things that you mentioned, whether it is spiritual or Gashmi, Pnimius, Chitzenius. The term Oiris and Kelim are on a much higher level for all of these things, on a source level.
So when you say, as you sometimes do, how does man stand on his 2 feet? It's a matter of spirit, not his physical construction. It is also Oyer v'Keli.
That's right. And what is the spirit that lifts a man up to stand on 2 feet?
Oyer HaNeshama.
What is that?
The godliness within it.
The godliness which subscribes, which points to God. In other words, there's a reality in this world. It's not about me. It's not how I feel. For me, to crawl and to lie in bed is much more convenient, much easier. But I can't stay in bed. In the presence of all of the reality, I can't stay in bed. So this is not about him and about me and about us. It's about the reality that facilitates all of that. Obviously, you can go on, but we'll have to come back here. Yeah, I want to say something.
Yeah, before you go to the next paragraph, we listened to the shiur of Friday, and at the end of the shiur, you were reading, and then you said, let's not consider the parenthesis for the moment.
Oh yeah, okay.
And you did not come back to it.
I did not come back to it. I apologize. I look at it and I say, oh, how am I going to present that? What this parenthesis says like this. The Ayin Aroich, let's look in the parenthesis. The Ayin Aroich de Ha'oir, Einoi Kmo Ayin Aroich de Keli. Because prior to that, he explained how there is oir that is oir as it is in its inception, in its source, and then how the oir is mislabish in the keli, and then he says the oir that's mislabish in the keli is still oir, but relative to the oir as it is prior to mislabish in the keli, it is shloi b'yerech. So he says in a very brief thing that the Ein HaRoich, the distance, the incomparability between the oir and another oir is much greater than the oir and keli.
The distance between 2 oros is
greater than oir and keli.
Infinitely greater than distance between oir and
keli. It's an amazing thing. So he just put it in as in a brief parenthesis.
Hadn't we stated the opposite previously?
Maybe. I wouldn't argue. Who knows what we stated?
No, inside it seemed like we learned that the keli to the or is much greater level than the and the or to the hidden or, the or that's in the keli to the hidden or.
Well, clearly that's not what he's saying over here. Ein aroich between oiros. See, the hidden oir. The hidden oir is fully one with its source. Let us try to understand what is the source, what does it mean the source of oir? The best way that I can alert our thinking to that is what the Rambam says, Motzui Rishon, of first being. And we spoke many times, the implication of first being is that this being has no cause. What kind of being is it that doesn't have a cause? What's the cause for a being that has no cause? A being that has a cause, no matter how lofty and how refined, there's a way that we can identify with it. Like we were saying, convenience is a reflection of a human thing. But there is a deeper thing than just convenience. But still, it is translated inconvenience. How do I get to understand that higher level? By first experiencing the convenience, the comfort. So there is some kind of a means to relate to it. But when you speak of something that has no means of a reference, this is what the Rambam calls emes. What is the meaning of the word emes? There are many meanings that we attribute to the word emes, but ultimately emes is what's called mila begarmi. Mila begarmi means a word unto itself, not an adjective, not describing anything. It's a word unto itself. And Rambam says clearly, Hashem Elokim emes, hu levado hu emes.
What was the phrase you got? Mila the...
Begarmi.
Begarmi?
Begarmi, yeah, begarmi by itself. In its own, it's a standalone word. It's not an adjective. It's a standalone word, a word unto itself. That is the real thing.
Hashem Elokim emes.
Hashem Elokim emes. As apostle.
And then?
Rambam says, hu levado hu emes, vein emes kamitosi. He is the only truth, and there is no other truth like his truth. Does that mean that we're all lying over here? I apologize. I try not to lie, but I have no choice. This emes, this is the oir in its inception. And this emes is what a human being perceives when he stands up.
When he does what?
When he stands up.
Ah.
All right.
In other words, AyinBase means that it stands on its own, and if there would be any causes, means it's not so steadfast. Something else is no. This itself stands on its own, and from if there would be any cause.
No, one second. Let's understand the following. I hope I get this point. The room, your dining room, is properly set up. When you are present in the dining room, it's set up in your honor. Because you are there, and in deference and recognition of your presence, it's set up. When you're absent, does the whole room collapse? What then is the significance of this room being kept in abeyance in that position when you're not there? Yes, Shmuel.
Because even when you're physically not there, you're still there spiritually. Your aura is there by right of ownership, which is by right of God.
This is still not an absolute statement. Doesn't bother you.
What was that question? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear it.
When you are outside of your home and everything in your home remains standing exactly the way you put it up, what is the significance of that? Why?
It's the person expression of the godly presence which transcends time or place. It's always there because the person made it as a human being, in a neshama, and such, like Eibishter, there's no of time and space on this level.
It's his godly truth which transcends his presence. It's not based on his presence there, it's based on the godliness, which is
God loves you, so he holds it for you.
Okay, we're coming close. We're coming close. This is my mishkazim. We're coming close. What a well-appointed your home, or any human home, or the whole world, even in the desert, there are also things happening. Well, this is the statement that it says is not that here there is this and here there is that, but that in the reality there is that truth. Doesn't have to be here.
Which truth?
Huh?
Which truth? Which truth? We're talking about our diamond.
The truth that the world is a godly creation is a creation. It is not an accident. And therefore, everything has its place. Nothing is for naught. Even the fallen tree in the desert, in the park, and rotting away, is also representing a reality.
So coming back, we said that if there would be any cause.
That's why I'm saying.
Yeah.
So this is the words of the Ram. Hashem Elokim Emes. Hu levadei ho emes ve'in emes kamitos. He is, only He is the truth, and there's no truth like this truth. So now when you go to the desert and there's scorpions and snakes walking around, what does that represent? What is that reflective of?
A challenge. God creates a challenge.
God's truth.
Huh?
God's truth.
That also represents God's truth. What has it represented?
What is
The infinity of God's truth.
But what we're trying to understand is that we said that because there's a motivation, there's no other cause. If something has a cause, means that the thing is not so true, because it's not about itself. Something else holds it up. If nothing holds it up, means that that this is true. This itself is true. It's not about some. There's the point. That's how we should perceive emes on what we're talking about.
We cannot perceive emes, the godly emes. There's no way we can perceive it. Our seichel is not capable of perceiving it. Only thing is that we can perceive it. In our chokhmah, we can recognize that there is such a thing. But to perceive it and to put it in perspective is not possible.
But something was said that the fact that as a motivation there's no other cause, and this is what makes it true.
This is the definition of truth. This is the definition of truth. Adam is motivation. In other words, a presence that does not need to be brought into existence. In our perception, everything that exists has to be brought in. But then there's a godly reality, which is not our perception at all.
And this is called emes.
This is called emes. Hashem Elokim emes, that's what the Rambam says.
I'm trying to understand it. It's called, it's not being brought into reality, and this means truth. It was always.
Again, there is not a way that we will be able to define it and understand it and put it in perspective. There's not a way. The minute what you said already is already not the end. What you said is simply saying that it's not anything that I know. Okay, let's since this is not a possibility, why do we have to dig into it? We have to concede, sof kol sof, that there is something that we cannot understand. What's so terrible about that? Not an insult.
And you also
It's a compliment. Look how wise you are. You understand that is something that you cannot understand. What's so terrible about that?
And you live your life towards it.
And you live a life not towards it, but according. Accordingly means like this. Accordingly means like this. If I have to do something that I don't understand the reason for, it's not the end of the world.
Right. But
you're still not. Your right is not a right.
Well, that's why I said towards, because accordingly would imply like you're able to discern.
What does Kabbalah Soil mean? What's Nasa V'Nishma mean?
Right, so it's beyond your gather. It's outside
it's
your understanding.
Outside it, exactly. Outside
but
of your
it
gather.
has the stamp of truth on it.
No, I'm doing it because the whole reality is beyond my gather. I'm not acting within the worldly parameters. I'm acting within the parameters of the truth. If this statement can be said. Okay. We cross the Yamsum over here?
No. Can you rather just go over the explanation in parentheses once again? No, serious.
Leave it alone. We'll have a chance to refer to it in a more amenable situation.
Okay.
Yesh loymar. Yesh loymar. The Rebbe says further. Okay, further than what? Further than what we just finished saying, that in the oil itself, pure oil, prior to the oil having any identity with Keli, being presented and grasped and getting some kind of a functional, practical meaning. Already there are many oils. There's Esesphiris. This we discussed on Friday and so forth. So it says Yesh Leimar. So to further elaborate on this, the following can be said. Shezehu gam kein inyan es esfiras hagnuzis b'ma'atzilom be'erin sof shel pnei hatzimtzum. That this principle which just now said, that in the oil itself, in the reality of the oil itself, there is also Sphira is also many qualities, many aspects. That this is also what's meant when you say Esas Spheres Agnuzis. Esas Spheres Agnuzis means the 10 spheres that are contained and concealed within their source. Where are they concealed? They concealed b'ma'atzilon, within their emanator, the source of where they are emanating from, which is be'oyer ein sof shelifnei hatzimtzum. The ein sof that's before the tzimtzum. So, What is the point in that? In our meager perception, we discussed the following. This is something which we have been repeating many times. And again, we're talking about our own perception, our own experience, in our seichel. When we stand outside of the room and we observe through a window what is taking place in the room. Let's say somebody stands over there and he looks inside and he sees this whole scene. In that vision, in that view, there are what's called spheres. There are 10 different ways, different levels of way that one would perceive what's going on. Until he actually defines what he had seen. I'm not going into it, but we understand that this is a whole structure. And then we said, compare this same human being who has observed it from outside, then steps in and comes inside. And when he comes inside, he no longer is capable of observing that which he observed when he was outside. Does he then lose or gain?
Gains.
You can't observe because you physically can't see everything, you're saying? Or?
Yeah, he doesn't see anything.
It's more. He doesn't get it from seeing it. He gets it even closer than seeing it. He's it.
Depends on where he is.
One second. Listen, this question is a valid question. I'd like you to relate to it. Does he lose or does he gain? Now, if you were to ask him, what's doing in that room?
While he's outside or inside?
Either way. When he's outside, he'll be able to answer much more clearly than when he's inside.
But it's still, he's... Yeah.
He loses.
Don't give up.
I'm
just trying to help to focus in what you said. Does he gain or does he lose?
He loses the
by being inside.
Commodity element, but he gains the reality.
I mean, in a simple level, you have 5 senses that are going to operate inside that are not operating outside. Only one sense operates outside, that's the eyes. The rest of the 4 senses are your smell, your sense of sound. Let's say someone sprayed deodorant, so
okay.
I mean, if you're talking about just on a mundane level.
Good. Okay, let's perceive like this. You see this, you see this, and then you hold it in your hand. And when you hold it in your hand, you can smell it, you can taste it, all of this. What is the comparison between these 2 experiences?
Looking at it and holding it?
moving it, it's more an idea of function. When you look at it, it's not about you anymore. You're subsumed by just looking at it.
Okay, fine. This is a long discussion, but one thing is, by looking at it, we perceive much more about it than by touching it, or by feeling how smooth it is or how hard it is.
It's less about us.
Okay, whatever the explanation is.
Yeah.
The explanation is endless, but just by looking at it, we know more somehow, and it's a bigger experience than by touching it. Even though in touching it, we know how much it weighs, and how hard it is, and how smooth it is, and how big it is. Whatever, all our experiences that we can have, and yet by looking at it, you know what? The fact is, the halacha says that if you want to have hanoah from your food, like Shabbos, it's a mitzvah to have hanoah from your food. You have the food in your hand, let's say, and you're feeding with your hand, and you feel the chopped liver, and you're feeding it to yourself, and so doesn't compare to seeing it. That's why the halacha is that you have to have candles on the table. You have to be able to see the food in order to have hanoah. So sight is not just one sense. Let me explain. Chochma, bina, v'das. Chochma is one of the koiches hanefesh, one of the koiches haseichel. It's not one of the koiches haseichel. All other koiches are dependent on the chochma. Just as the taste of the food depends on seeing it. If you don't see it, you don't have a taste. Even though taste is in your mouth.
Don't you get the taste when you put the food in your mouth?
You get the taste, but not the taste. Taste is not the taste. The dog also tastes, but the dog doesn't know the significance of taste.
But in the beginning of the show, you said the dog has no taste.
The dog has no appreciation of taste. It means nothing to him, one way or the other. A human being appreciates this because by him it touches his seichel.
What if somebody tells you what it is?
No matter what it is, if you don't see it, it's not real to you. We discussed it so many times. But okay, this is the reality, the halacha, that you're supposed to see the food in order to have hanoah from it.
Seeing is the super sense.
One second. Seeing is a super sense. Yet again, I want to correct that statement so that we understand what it means as super sense.
What I'm trying to understand is because when you taste something and you see a food, this sublime taste, you're automatically associating that with the reality of the food itself.
And the what?
With the reality of the food itself. That's not two separate things. This food contains within it the sublime taste, which is more chacham, more of course, it's more than just.
Okay. All right. Let's. Okay. Kiva said, super sense. I want to ask a point-blank question. What's the difference whether we say Bereshis bara Elokim b'shamayim v'ha'aretz, or that the world developed from atoms colliding? And neurons and protons are now colliding in space, poof, and that created the whole world. What does it make? What's the difference? Well, don't rush to an answer. Please reflect. This is not a vain question. I'm talking about how does that strike the human intellect? Not what's the difference in theoretically.
One is cause and effect, and the other one is motivation.
Again, please don't rush to the answer. We have plenty of time. We're late anyway, so might as well. What is the difference? Does it make a difference?
Nothing is real. Nothing matters. I don't have a mission.
What?
Again, please understand, what you're saying is not incorrect, but you're narrowing it to your own experience. Is that all the human being is? Is that all what the world means to you? How it tastes? The Shulchan Aruch says, when you wake up in the morning and you see daylight, that should alert you to the fact that Hashem oimid olav. What does Hashem have to do with that? It's beautiful daylight. I like that. It's beautiful to experience, to see.
Yeah. Because when you say cause and effect, it's limited by cause and effect, and the further away you get away from the effect, less you have less the cause. But if you say everything comes from making him sorry, just like the Eibishter doesn't have any beginnings, so too when he creates something, it's infinity. It's all over. Only cause and effect is limited. But if it comes from motivation or has no beginning and end, subsequently everything which the Eibishter created has that virtue of no beginning, no end. God's omnipresence. He's all over.
None of you speak incorrectly. Just the other day, I said in class that in Oiris there is not an element of discovery. So Shlomo couldn't relate to it. How can you know if you don't? There's no kind of know if there's no element of discovery. I said there's no element. What does it mean? There's no element of discovery in Chochmah. What does that mean? Chochmah is discovery. In very simple terms, okay.
No, discover. Again, I wasn't here during the share, so it could just be coming from my
this
stomach.
was very briefly relevant.
Okay. Yeah. Discovery means there's discoverer and that which is discovered. But in Chochmah there's no discovery because it's in essence it's higher from the person. The person gets milamayla, he gets this Chochmah. It's not as if there's a discoverer and that which is discovered. It's memela discovered. Because a person by himself can't grasp the concept of Chochmah. two ruchim. So it comes from above. And discover, you have the dichotomy of those two things.
Again, we're going with it, hovering next to it. It's what it's called hotter, burning. We're not heating. You discover things by first not seeing it, and in contrast to not having it, you're discovering it. That's the principle of discovery. Remember we said from Baal Shem Tov, Mokim shelitzayna shalodam shomhu. So yes, which means, you know what that means? Mokim shelitzayna, a place where a person wants to be, that's where he is. I said it many times. So we know that if I'm here, and I want to be here, I have to propel myself over there. I have to get there. How is it Mokim shelitzayna shalodam shomhu? We discussed it many times. But let's take it in the context of what we're discussing just now. How do we walk? What makes walking, how is walking enable us to move from place to place?
Physically?
Yeah.
Push against the ground.
You push against the ground. In other words, you have a resistance. You're pushing against against the place where you don't want to be, and that propels you to the place where you want to be. If you did not have this resistance, you couldn't walk. That's what happens when you walk on ice. Normal walking is not possible on ice. Because if you push against the ice, you're going to fall. It has no resistance. Right? Now, there are people, or better still, and there are people, the astronomers, when they fly out of the Earth's gravitational pull, they're able to walk within, in a weightless environment. They don't have any resistance. How do they walk? It's a different kind of walk. It's a different kind of force. It's not a physical force. They walk like the Ramshan Motim Shelitzayna Shalodam Shamhu. By force of will. Even in our environment, a person can really learn to walk on ice. Really walk on water, even though ice itself is not provided for walking, but because a person is held up by his brain, so he can pick up a foot and put it elsewhere, and then lift himself with his seichel, with his spirit, to be in the place where that foot is. We all know everybody can walk on ice a little bit. So if you're careful, you can walk on ice. It's a different kind of walk. Walking on ice is a different kind of a walk than the one described, that you're pushing against the ground. You can't push against the ice.
Because a little bit of resistance.
It depends. It depends what kind of shoes. But if you If you have very smooth shoes, you still can walk. But it's a kind of different kind of walk. There is not the resistance element, but you can, and yet you can move from place to place. And we said, what is that? What enables that? Nuance. This is the spirit that keeps a person up. That's what we said. A person standing up is not a logical thing. It's standing up because he's got the spirit to stand up. And he has a spirit to move from place to place. Not by walking, but moving. By relating to the other place. This is what we said in Chochmah, in Oyer. There isn't the element of discovery, which means that here it isn't, and now, and in contrast to that where it is not, I find this out. It's not in contrast. I find out the truth because it's true. Like the Rambam says, Emes Mdeshi Hu Emes. Not by any other causes.
What's the word finding out doing in there?
But it's not finding out.
It's not finding.
It's knowing. The real truth of human knowledge, of human life, of human chokhmah, is not through the process of discovery. This is what we call emunah. And emunah can be mocked from a practical perspective. All kind of man, he just believes. He just believes. Yes, he just believes, because he perceives that there is a truth beyond your seichel, and he cannot relate to that truth in any other way. You stand outside the room and you observe. You have the experience of discovery. And inside the room, everything is there, but you don't discover anything. You cannot name anything. What is there? There is a human room, whatever the room stands for.
That's a gain, and that's a loss. Why would that be a loss? You wouldn't think.
No, it's a loss because you don't have the details. But it's really, in essence, it's a gain.
It's a gain. It's beyond words. No details.
Like we say, the difference between rotzing and walking. I have it because I want to have it.
It's beyond finding out or
observing. I relate to this one because I want to relate to this one. Because I sense its reality, its truth. Not because
right. Who needs
I discover it.
Yeah, who needs details when you have that?
Well, practical person, you need detail. But in terms of your experience as a human being, this is the primary thing. If you don't have that, then you have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
If you have that, then learning the details, it fits in. This is what I like. If you don't have chokhmah, then Bina is counterproductive.
Right.
Then Bina can create a monster of a world.
Yeah. So again, there's still a role for details.
Of course.
What? Because again.
Listen, I want to drink. Can I drink without a cup?
Oh.
Can I secure the cup without having a table to put it in? Of course. But the whole thing is real.
If the whole thing is real, you're inside the room. So again, why the specificity? I guess because we're living in a world, and so there are specifics to deal with. But you're inside reality, and it all is there, ever present, everywhere. details come into the picture because...
Details come into the picture because you are not only neshama, you're also neshama in the goof. But if you're only goof without neshama, there's nothing there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is what you said many times. An animal also lives. The life of the animal is that it makes that the nefesh of the animal makes it a living body. A human being is not a living body. A human being is life in a body. That's why he stands without depending, not giving preference to the body. For the body to stand on four is much easier than stand on
In
five.
other words, he's alive even before he's in the body.
That's right. Well, that's what it is. He's alive before, and then this life comes
Not
into the body.
And not the animal. The animal before he's in the body is not alive.
No. It's a life that makes the body live. A living body. Okay, now that we have decided that we are superior to animals, you might as well go. No challenge.
You have to make it reality. That's where it first begins.
Oh boy.
Yeah.